You know, in mid-20th century, men dominated the art scene. Every gallery was mostly full of shows by men and an occasional woman. Indiana, I think, was a great place because the Indiana Artists Club, of which she was a member, I think equally was represented by men and women. But, you know, she was a very independent, really special mid-century woman. You know, she was no housewife at home taking care of Ralph. They took care of each other and celebrated the joy in both their lives. So, I mean, she could be a role model for the rest of us girls today, I think. Lilian Fendig is a very interesting Rensselaer person who was originally from England. And she met her husband, Ralph Fendig, who was from Rensselaer, who was a bachelor, who was in World War II. She was a formerly trained artist in England, and so she met Ralph, and they really liked each other, and she eventually moved to Rensselaer and married Ralph. But she brought this marvelous formal training with her to Rensselaer, and so she was a really amazing artist and prolific artist throughout her entire life. Actually, when she was in junior high school, she got a scholarship to attend art school, and she was so outstanding that she stayed on and studied through high school. So she had eventually got a degree in education. She taught art in schools. Her skill set was exquisite when she arrived here. I think they married in about 1947. And she joined the Indiana Artists Club and became a part of the Brown County Artist Group. And so she began showing actively in the 1950s and won many awards. She had 50 years of exhibitions and a very prolific award-winning career. I think she brought a cultural moment and exquisite works of art to this town that didn't have a lot of art or a lot of artists. So, you know, you can see this amazing body of work. Prairie Arts is very fortunate to have a permanent collection. We've got so many interesting behind-the-scenes working sketches and journals and things like that. So Lilian's work, when you look at it, it's very traditional work. I mean, it reminds you very much of representational work from the mid-20th century. Edward Hopper comes to mind as someone who painted similarly in a representational way. His work was always a lot moodier to me and a lot lonelier. His always seemed to address places that had fewer little people. Lilian's always has kind of a joy about it. I mean, you can tell that she loved life and she loved the world, and so wherever she traveled, whether it was the Dude Ranch or Wisconsin, she would be making sketches and coming back to make art about those places. She traveled back and forth to London many times in her life after she moved to Rensselaer, so you'll see a lot of English scenes, both in the city and rural, and you can recognize them instantly. They look so different than the Indiana and American scenes. But I would say she's really a very classic mid-century artist in her style and her subjects. Just a vibrancy and a joy. You know, a few of the pieces get a little moody and have some undertones, but basically you can look around and see that she was just celebrating the beauty of the world around her. When she was in England, she was also an illustrator, and one of the techniques that she learned was called wood engraving, and it's this very, very precise, meticulous form of printmaking where she would take other very dense maple wood blocks and you would carve into them with wood tools. We actually have a portfolio of those wood blocks that her husband Ralph, after she passed away in 1985, bequeathed to the Prairie Arts Council, and we actually printed those blocks. Ralph was very good friends with Bob Lewis, who was the founder of the Prairie Arts Council, and so when we were initiating the Prairie Arts Council as an organization, Ralph wanted to do something on behalf and in memorial of Lilian. So he gave us some startup money for our gallery, and so in turn we decided to name the gallery after her, which was a wonderful collaboration. The establishment of the Prairie Arts Council became a really good sort of heartbeat for people interested in the arts, and I think we've done a lot to promote what Lilian started to a greater audience. We started a program called Art Camp and would have classes, but she's always been a presence kind of in the background of all of what we've done.